Let me ask you a question. Are you trading to win or are you trading not to lose? Seems kind of silly, but it's more interesting than you think. Thank you guys for checking out the Trading Coach Podcast. As always, my name is Akil Stokes. I am your host. You can see I am in my Philly Union Blues. Massive win last night as we put ourselves in playoff position for the three of you out there that actually care about Major League Soccer. For the rest of you, we've got a pretty cool trading topic to discuss, but before we get into it, I want to remind you guys that the Trading Coach Podcast comes out every 3 days, or not every 3 days, 3 days a week. There we go. And for you guys that are new, we've covered almost every topic imaginable in trading, so it's a perfect reference guide if you're looking for a specific subject. Just go back through the archives and find one that answers the question that you have. Or if you're too lazy to do so, just shoot me a message, find me on socials, and I don't mind recording an episode covering your topic. Today's topic is a little bit of a follow-up from a discussion that we had this morning, right? Every Monday we do a closed door, behind the scenes, private Q&A session with the premium members on our site. And today, one of the topics we dug into was entering multiple times for the same type of trade. And the discussion brought us to a point where we really looked at we took a philosophical look at trading and how do you approach things when it comes to that. If you enter multiple times in the same type of trade, what you're doing is you're building a bigger position. So I was trying to say this without using the word risking, but you're risking more per that individual trade. And there's two ways to look at that. Risking more can mean that, hey, if I lose, I'm going to lose a lot more than I initially intended. Or we could look at it the other way and say, if I win, I'm going to win a lot more than I initially intended. And neither dynamic is wrong. The question that you need to have as a trader is, which side do I stem on? And typically we see this, right? We see newer traders enter the market thinking that trading in general is like, they come with the gambling mindset. Now, I do believe that trading is gambling, but we gamblers with the edge, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But the gambling mindset in the sense that I'm going to come in, I'm going to throw a whole bunch of money on a color, that color is going to hit, and I'm going to leave with a lot of money. In reality, most of them go broke. So what we see a lot of newer traders do is risk a whole lot because they think I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win. And then they lose and they don't allow themselves enough time to absorb losses to achieve their wins. And they go broke and they go find the next thing. Professional traders, right, have more of a risk-averse approach. I just did a short on this for YouTube and a reel on this for the other social things. But one of the best quotes that I heard in my trading career was, you need a chip in a chair, and that's a gambling reference to poker, meaning that you're not allowed to sit at the table, the poker table, unless you have a chip, money. If you have a chip, you can play the game. If you can play the game, you give yourself the opportunity to make money. So the idea with poker is that you want to be very strategic in when you risk, when you don't risk, how much you risk, how much you don't risk. That way you can survive the game until you have enough time to win. And I was also always told that great traders or good traders are great risk managers, meaning that a trader's job is to manage their risk so that they can absorb a loss, and hang in there for the big win or the big winning streak. So most traders, when they have the option of like, hey, would you enter multiple positions on the same type of trade, pretty much putting you at an exposure level that is well beyond what you initially intended? The answer is no. And it's like, well, what if you win? Well, I don't care. I want to avoid the loss because a loss can be devastating. I'll always get an opportunity to win later. And you think of this, and I even say this about myself, I look at this as a risk-adverse approach. And going back to what I said earlier about, are we trading to win or are we trading not to lose? Initially, you would think that would fall under the category of, oh, you're trading not to lose because you're being cautious. But that's actually not the case. Now, I want to pause there for a second because I want to read you an interesting article. I told the traders this morning that I remember hearing about this. I was reading some articles on sports. I coach track and field as well, so I'm always looking for psychological edges and how to get people fired up. And I remember reading an article that mentioned this, and I don't remember who it's from. I don't see a name at all, but it's on some basketball psychology blog post, and I want to read it to you real quick. Introduction. Both teams want to win. Who wouldn't? There's a reason why big upsets and 20 or 30 point comebacks are possible. It's because at some point, instead of playing to win, a team got comfortable or scared and decided to play not to lose. The psychological differences between playing to win and playing not to lose may seem trivial, but it's the mind shift that separates the winners from the losers. Practice is important, but the ability to win games is what you are judged on. The cliche is practice makes perfect, but to win, you have to be able to perform under pressure when the lights come on. While you might have practiced more hours and prepared more meticulously, if you don't play to win, practice won't yield the results that you want. Playing to win is a matter of perspective. It's choosing to dream big instead of preparing for the worst. There's a certain hunger that winning teams are characterized by. They aren't scared to lose because their sole focus is what do they deserve or do they deserve to win. All they can imagine is winning. Losing isn't even considered. Their frame of mind is what allows them to play in such a way that maximizes their ability to perform. When you're playing to win, you understand mistakes are made. In every game, it's part of the process. When you're playing not to lose, you're scared to make a mistake. When you're playing to win, you are willing to take risks. When you're playing not to lose, you play it safe. When you're playing to win, you play fearlessly and energized. When you're playing to lose, you play stiff because you're holding back. When you're playing to win, you play aggressive and proactive. When you're playing not to lose, you play reckless and reactive. Winning is a challenge. Not losing is a threat. In the book Top Dog, The Science of Winning and Losing, a study was done on how different results are based on viewing a test and a threat or challenge. A study was done by Alter and Aronson at Princeton undergrads. The research presented the students, with a test of GRE questions. For half the students, the questions were presented in a threat context. They were a test of students, The research presented their students with a test of the GRE questions. For half the students, the questions were presented in a threat context. They were a test of students' ability and judgment on whether they truly belonged at Princeton. The other students got the same questions, but in a challenge context. That test was titled Intellectual Challenge Questionnaire, and the questions were constructed as brain teasers. Nobody was expected to solve all of them. In the threat context, the Princeton undergrads got 72% correct. In the challenge context, they got 90% correct. The tests were not different. The only thing that changed was their perspective. Fear of losing is a threat. Threats are intimidating and burdensome. Winning is a challenge. It's difficult but achievable. The difference between playing to win and not to lose. This is the last one, I promise. I hope. Yeah, there we go. The last one I'm going to read here. Playing not to lose is a preventative mindset. It activates your sense of fear. It makes losing more powerful than winning in your mind. Playing to win is empowering. It's rooted in the belief that you can win. It gives you a fighting chance to rise to the occasion. When you play to win, you understand you don't have to be perfect. You just have to do your job. The sense of familiarity quiets your, the emotional part of your brain, which allows you to play fearlessly and instead be enticed by the reward. By trying to avoid the negative outcome instead of moving towards the positive result, the rest of your thoughts will be destructive. Instead of thinking, I hope I make this shot, when you play not to lose, you'll be thinking, I hope I don't miss this shot, which brings missing to the center of your thoughts. The simple science is whatever thought is prominent in your mind is most likely to occur. If you're thinking about how much you don't want to lose, the thought of losing is prominent. If you're thinking how much you want to win, winning is the prominent thought. Your actions will subconsciously follow your conscious thoughts. And I thought that was I loved it. I love that type of stuff. But for trading, it's brilliant because we know we deal with fear as being one of the major obstacles in trading. And a lot of the actions that we take, whether it's taking profits early because we're afraid that the market won't reach there, whether it's moving stops back because we're afraid that the market's going to stop us out, whether it's entering a trade too early because we're afraid that we're not going to get our signal, whether it's not entering a trade because we're afraid or nervous that it's going to lose. All of those are fear-based, and we can kind of call it we're being risk-averse, we're being safe, but basically we're trading or not trading not to lose, and we are sabotaging ourselves. So the key, and bringing this back to the conversation we had earlier, we spoke about different options within the scenario of taking multiple trades. And one of the solutions was, hey, if you get multiple signals, I always take the signal that triggers first. And the debate that ensues after that is, well, Akil, what if that first one loses and that second one wins and blah, 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 blah. And my answer is always this, right? It's the whole bird in the hand versus two in the bush type of deal. I never want to pass up on a valid trade. A valid trade is a trading opportunity that meets all of my rules for entry. Those rules for entry have been studied, they've been created, they've been tweaked, they've been back tested to prove that I have an edge. So when I'm trading something in the market, I am trading something that statistically gives me an advantage, and I know that bigger picture, not this trade, not next trade, who knows when, but bigger picture, it will put me in profit. So my only goal is to take every single scenario that is more likely to push me towards profit. And taking valid trades pushes me towards profit. Missing valid trades pushes me away from profit, right? It's the whole pain and pleasure thing. Everything that we're motivated by in life as human beings. Are we avoiding pleasure, or are we avoiding pain, or are we going towards pleasure, right? I want to work towards pleasure, money. I don't want to avoid pain, but I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm pushing myself towards pain. And skipping a valid trade in hopes that the other one may fail, although it seems good in our head, it is nothing but giving in to fear. We are afraid to take one for whatever reason that is, so we're telling ourselves we're going to wait until the next one, right? Just like any type of procrastination in life, and then we'll probably make an excuse to pass on that next one as well. So the key with trading, this is why psychology is such a big role, is we have to be confident, we have to be robotic, we have to be rules-based. If we learn how to trade the right way, if we put ourselves in an environment where that culture was fostered, if we did all the due diligence in creating our strategy or tweaking our strategy, if we spent all those hours acquiring data when we're backtesting our strategy and we see that the numbers say, I should be profitable, then the only thing we need to do is stick to the plan. Look at each trading opportunity instead of a chance that, oh my gosh, I might lose money, right? And that's realistic, right? We're not going to make every shot. We're not going to win every trade. We know that, but we also know our numbers. That's what gives us confidence. Sorry for the beeping in the background. Apologize. So unprofessional, but this isn't a professional podcast. Instead of that, we should be playing to win. We should be getting the ball at the end of the game and saying, hey, I'm going to take this shot because I know that 3 out of 4 times I'm going to make it, instead of getting that ball and being like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass it because I might miss it. We need to be taking trades saying, hey, I don't know what the independent result of this trade is going to be. It could lose, but if I do this consistently every single time, I have full confidence in the end result, and that's going to be profit in my pocket. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Again, take that 10 episode challenge, meaning listen to 10 random episodes of the Trading Coach podcast. Also, if you haven't done so already, make sure you leave me a rating and a review. It is the best way you can help me grow the show and support what I'm doing here. Until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. Visit tier1trading.com, mention Forbes, educational resources, all that stuff I'm supposed to say. Take care. Appreciate you guys listening.